I'm going to do something kind of weird, strange today. I'm going to do a recipe that I literally created in a dream. A few nights back, I had a dream that I was working in a professional kitchen, and not as a cook, but more like an errand guy, you know, like go downstairs and bring up a 10-pound bag of potatoes. In the dream, there was this tray that was mounded with roasted ducks, 15, 20 ducks. And the chef asked, what can we do with all of these cooked ducks? I came up with a recipe. I woke up, wrote it all down because I had my laptop computer next to my bed, and then I went to the store the following day and bought a duck. It's been thawing in the refrigerator. So what I want to do today is I want to do this duck recipe exactly the way I created it in my dream, with one exception. Rather than using steamed carrots on the plate, I'm going to do grilled carrots. I don't even have a name for this recipe yet, but I thought it would be fun to do this as a video. So let's do this duck thing. I have to start off by roasting a duck. I want to do some stuffing. I don't really care about the stuffing because I'm not going to eat the stuffing. I just want to use it for helping the duck to roast evenly. This is going to go inside just for moisture. I don't want a browned, crisp skin to my duck. All right, here's my apple. I have a half of a medium onion here that I've peeled. I'm going to kind of coarsely chop that up. Nothing too fancy at this point. Put that in my bowl. And then finally I have 3-4 sage leaves here. And I'm going to chop up the sage and add this to my bowl. Again, without being too fussy. I don't need to mince this really fine. That's good enough. So here is my duck. It's got one of those plastic doneness pop-up things on it. I don't care about that because I know I'm going to need to cook this for about 2 hours. This is about 6 pounds, just over 6 pounds. It's about 2.7, 2.8 kilograms. And as I mentioned, I'm going to moist roast this. So I'm going to roast it in an enclosed Dutch oven with the lid on because I don't care about browned or crisp skin. I'm going to throw all the skin and the bones away. I'm going to just, in the dream, I deboned the ducks. That's what I told the chef I could do. You can do that, he said. I said, yeah, I've deboned hundreds of chicken. What's the difference? Okay. In the meantime, I'm heating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 177 degrees Celsius. My duck is stuffed. I'm ready to put this in the roasting pan. I put a rack inside of my oval enameled Dutch oven. I'm going to put my duck in there. I tied the legs together. I even put a toothpick through the tail to hold it up. And then what I have here is 2 cups, which is about 475 milliliters of chicken stock. I'm going to pour that in the bottom. I'm going to put all that in there. That'll work. And what I'm after here is I want a moist heat because I want the meat to be so tender that it comes off the bone very easily, because that's what I want to do. The skin I don't care about. I'm going to save the skin and the bones, put that aside for stock. Drain going by. I'm going to roast this in my oven. It has come up to temperature, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 177 degrees Celsius. I'm going to roast this for 2 hours and then I'll check the internal temperature. Oh, this is heavy. There is my duck now, out of the oven. Granted, it isn't pretty. I mean, it looks very white. The ducks in my dream, by the way, I remember being very brown. They were properly roasted, but I don't care about the skin or anything on this. I do want to draw your attention to a couple of things. One is the internal temperature has come up to way too high. It's 193 degrees after 2 hours. And this thing still hasn't popped up. I mean, when does that thing pop up? When it gets to 500 degrees? Anyways, I have to wait for this to cool now so that I can pick the skin off and then take the flesh, the meat, off the bones. I also have to gather my stock and strain that and skim off the fat because I'm going to use that for making a reduction sauce. Here's the stock, the drippings that I took from the bottom of that roasting pan. I filtered this to get out all the larger solids. And what I like to use are these things here. This is a coffee filter, actually. I find these on the coffee aisle in the grocery store. They're inexpensive. They're plastic with a nylon mesh, and they get a lot of the finer particles out. It's not going to be really, really clear, but it'll be good enough for what I need it for, which is to make my reduction sauce. Meanwhile now, my duck has been cooling, and it's still warm, quite a bit warm, hot actually, but I think it'll be comfortable enough, cool enough rather, for me to comfortably debone this. And right away I'm seeing that the bone is coming right off, the meat rather is coming right off the bone. So it's going to take a while to debone all of this. I'm going to discard the skin, but take all of the pieces of meat off. Look how nicely that comes off the bone. So there it is. That's all that's left. I'm satisfied that that's done. And then here is my duck meat. So now I can start making my reduction sauce. Now, one aspect of the dream was that the chef asked me how I would prepare the duck meat for serving. And I said I would make a reduction sauce using stock and wine, but not regular wine. I would use plum wine. So I went over to Bevmo and I bought a bottle of plum wine. I have no idea what this is going to be like, but it's worth giving a try. I've got a skillet heating over medium-high heat. I'm going to put some, but not all, of my stock in there. Yeah, let's put it all in there. I was thinking I might want to save some for making soup later on, but I have so much chicken stock, homemade, in the refrigerator, freezer, that there's no point. How much to add? Let me see. I'm going to measure off half a cup. Yeah, it's about half a cup. And I'm going to start off with that. So now it's coming to a boil. I'm going to reduce the heat to medium. I'm going to grind a little bit of black pepper in there, not a lot. And then just a little bit, just a sprinkling of ground rosemary. This plum wine, by the way, is sweet. So my sauce is going to have a slightly sweet flavor to it. Now I want to simmer this until it's reduced down quite a bit. I want to reduce it down to less than half its volume. Okay, I'm just turning my heat off under this. That has reduced nicely. I got my right handle tasting spoon out. See what that tastes like. Probably going to need some salt. Yes, a little bit of salt, but not much. That's got a nice flavor already. I'm going to salt that very lightly. I tend to cook with very little salt anyways. All right, so that's my reduction sauce. I'm going to set that aside and then cook up some noodles and grill my carrots. I have some carrots here that I bought yesterday. I'm going to get these cleaned up and then cut up, and these are what I'm going to grill. I got my carrots cleaned up here. Let's see. I think that'll be a good length there. I'll leave that one whole, but this one I'll cut in half and maybe cut this one in thirds. Trying to get these evened up or so that they'll cook evenly. And meanwhile, I'm heating a grill on the stove, and I've oiled it with safflower oil, which is a good high temperature oil. You could use peanut oil. Don't use extra virgin olive oil. It's not a frying oil. It'll burn at the temperature I'm going to be cooking at. I'm going to heat that grill up to really high. So I'm going to put my carrots on there. And I want to get these kind of toward the center a little bit. Get them spread out. Like so. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to put a pan on there. That'll help, pan lid rather, that'll help to steam those and get those tender. Meanwhile, I've got some noodles I'm just getting ready to boil. So now how I would plate this, this is what I said I was going to do in the dream. The chef asked, how would you plate this duck meat? I said, over noodles, not rice. Rice wouldn't do. Noodles would be better, I said. And then I reheated my duck meat and my reduction sauce in a separate pan, just a small amount, enough to, look at that, enough to taste it. And then here are my grilled carrots. You can see the bar marks on there. That is the dish that I dreamed up. Now I want to taste that. I'm so waiting to see how this is going to taste after my dream about this stuff. Some of my noodles, some of my meat, some of my reduction sauce. That is wonderful. That is just, it's got a bit of a gamey flavor to it, which you would get from the duck, but not a strong gamey flavor like you might get from some lamb. That sauce is just a little bit sweet. And then my grilled carrots. Crisp, tender. The carrots, by the way, I grilled those for 10 minutes. All right. Excuse me. I got to come up with a name. I'm going to go enjoy my duck with plum wine reduction sauce. That'll work. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit my website, mobilehomegourmet.com, and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.